All right, good morning, y'all. Getting started bright and early on a Wednesday. This is Wow Wealth on Wednesdays. Wow Wealth on Wednesdays. Let's knock this thing out. We're talking about black stocks. And I know a lot of people, when I say this and I talk about black owned stocks, publicly owned black companies, a lot of people will say, well, man, you should have did that during Black Business Month. Well, listen, man, get real. We're about to roll this thing out to where we're doing a lot of things that are towards the black community throughout the year. So we're not going to limit anything to any particular month or any particular time. We're just trying to expose people to what's out there and what their options are. So take it how you want to, take it how you need to. This is what we're doing right now. And I want to make sure that we're about it and understand it. Boom. There are some companies, right? There are some companies that are publicly traded, black stocks, right? They're black owned public companies. And oddly enough, they're primarily financial. They're primarily financial. And when we look at these, I am inclined to say that a lot of people will see these and be impressed with the longevity of some of these companies. And I think that we'll be able to also see, if you stick with it as an investor, I can show you some productivity as far as results from at least one of these companies that has been surprising for me. And let's take it from there. So, publicly owned black stocks. Let me just throw this out there. There are some names that you may be familiar with, some names you may not be familiar with, but they're out here and they are some great companies in a lot of senses. All right, look at this. Publicly owned black stocks. Look at that top one. RLJ Lodging. Robert L. Johnson, right? Famous for what he's done in, the business realm, and now in real estate. He's been doing this with hotels, these hotel partnerships. It's a REIT. It's a real estate investment trust. Black owned, right? Here we go. Urban One, entertainment, right? Entertainment company, media company. Come on now. Carver Bancorp, financials with community, as an aspect of it. Broadway Financial. One of the bases is in LA out here. Come on. Axsome Therapeutics and American Shared Hospital Services. So we've got a realm that covers health, finances, media, and real estate of some top black stocks. Can I say it like that? Top black stocks. And when we look at these, I want you to understand these are just some of the top black stocks that are available out there, publicly traded. These right here, RLJ, Urban One, Carver Bancorp, Broadway Financial. I own them. I own them in at least one portfolio, taxable or retirement. I own them in at least one portfolio, and that makes a difference. But I say that because these things are seriously the business for black folks. This is where our concentration could be in pushing some of our businesses to succeed even further as they're publicly traded through this process of being on the market and available for regular investors. If you had other cultures that had stocks that were publicly traded, I believe those people would get behind them. right? It's kind of like the same conversation we had about HBCUs. If we don't get behind our own thing, who are we expecting to get behind it? That's the real question. If we don't support our own thing publicly and financially, who are we really expecting to support it? And so, boom, that's it right there. Wealth creation, wealth generation, this can be something that you can have generationally and that can last for extensive periods of times, as long as it doesn't go by the wayside and sell out to a larger company, buyouts, things of that nature. Most of these companies should do fairly well in sustaining a Black presence on the stock market. Okay, knock this out. But these aren't the most popular stocks necessarily with African Americans. According to some research data, stockanalysis.com, and a few other sources that we were able to look at, we found what would be a curated top 10 of stocks popular among African Americans. So here we go. This one should not shock you. This one should not shock you. Apple, right? Apple's number one. Then I've got Tesla. Tesla's proven to really deliver for a lot of people. Amazon, right? Here we go. UONE, RLJ, Microsoft. A lot of Black folks have been investing in technology, right? You see the trend here? We got technology, EVs, media technology, media, REITs, technology, right? Here we go again, another technology, NVIDIA, right? We're not laying out a lot of Chipotles right here. We're not knocking down a lot of stuff that's not going to deliver long-term growth, right? And so for African Americans that are involved in the stock market, these don't tend to be heavily dividend investors, as you can tell from what we're looking at. These are investors who are looking at growth, long-term growth, productivity, right? And said NVIDIA, Carver, Bancorp, Broadway Financial, and GBT. GBT is a company that actually focuses on something near and dear to a lot of Black folks, which is sickle cell, and how that medical service process works for those who are dealing with that condition, which is oddly enough connected to African Americans and people of Jewish descent. And so when we talk about companies like GBT, that's a darling of the community, right? That's a darling of the community because of what it means to folks, right? What it means to the community, okay? Now check this out. This is what really gets me right here. The ETFs that are favored or found primarily in the portfolios of African Americans. I'm just going to run down this list and you can jump on board with me. I've got VTI, right? Vanguard, I've got IVV, and another one, which I really wasn't expecting to be in here, that kind of threw me a little bit, was VSS, the all world minus a small cap group from Vanguard. I didn't really expect that one to be in a top ETF holding for African Americans, the all world minus the small cap holdings for Vanguard, but somehow that's in here. So when we talk about the Black presence in the market, the Black presence in investing. Most African Americans are pushing in the index realm. If you notice that there wasn't a lot of QQQ, QQMs, FTech, XLK, it was tech heavy on the individual stocks, but not necessarily tech heavy on the index, right? No one was pushing into the NASDAQ as much as those individual stocks might have led you to believe. And so I think that's the difference between the investor who tends to focus on ETFs, which are broader base, versus individual stocks, which are looking to, deliver that home run. Some people just want to get on base, make it around the bases, and bring it around home in the batting order. Some folks want to try to hit that home run. And so that's the difference between investors, regardless of race, regardless of class. That's a difference in investors. And another portion that you want to check out too is when we look at not just how people invest and where they invest, but how they arrange their investments for retirement versus what's their place portfolio per se, or what's their taxable portfolio look like, what's their backup plan look like, and how does that deliver? How does that perform? And so when I look at this and I see SPY, VTI, IVV, I'm looking at people who are in the very general realm of index investing who are playing it pretty safe without going overly aggressive, right? What would be aggressive is depending on how they're allocated. If their portfolio is over 60% IVV or SPY, how long can you maintain that, right? If you're closer to retirement, start making those adjustments. And so what I want to do before I bring this to a close, and wrap this up for our first session here, I want to add in this this image, right? So you can see it and we can talk about it. Successful Black-owned stock, right? Successful Black-owned stock that I've been able to have on board has been Carver Bancorp. I've got a portfolio where Carver Bancorp is up 88%. Ridiculous, up 88%. And then I've got another one where it's up 46%. Bought them both at different times, obviously. Cost basis almost nil, right? And what it's reminding me of is as I buy into these tiny EV stocks that are selling for $1, $1.50, $2, maybe even $3. When I bought Carver, I was toying around with a stock that was going back and forth between being $1 or less, right? Being $1 or less. Now, as I look at my portfolio and I look at Carver, my reasons for holding it are still to hold it because for me, it's more nostalgia and novelty. Nostalgia because this is one of the long-standing African-American companies on the market, and novelty because we own a piece of Black corporate America. To own a piece of Black corporate America is a different sense of pride than to just say, I own stock. To own a piece of Black corporate America as a stockholder and an investor means something different in my heart and soul than it might mean to just your average investor. So for me, this is why we're looking at Wealth on Wednesdays. Hey, you can get it too. You can get the same type of results. Just keep digging in. God bless.